Thanks very much, Jess, for that introduction. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and paying respect to their elders, both past and present. And the Inner West Council is going to work with the Inner West community to make sure that we finally get reconciliation through the referendum later this year. And I also want to begin by acknowledging someone who's done an amazing amount of work, and that is Councillor Darcy. She has been awesome in getting this organised. And keep the applause going for Big Rob, the best MC in Sydney. The Inner West has always been the beating heart and soul of the long struggle for civil rights and equality in Australia. And we must never forget that Mardi Gras, this time of year, that World Pride is not just a social event or a celebration, it's a political event. The 78ers who set the Mardi Gras up in the first place, they came from the People's Republic of the Inner West. The renaming of Pride Square is an act of recognition and respect for those pioneers. We want to make sure that young people across Sydney will still be coming back to the Inner West in 10, 20 and 50 years' time to learn about the struggle for civil rights in this country. And speaking of people who've been fighting for equality for a very long time, our next speaker is someone who entered the Parliament in 1996 and made it his highest priority in his first term to fight for equal rights on superannuation for same-sex couples. A long time before that issue was considered niche or sexy. It was an issue that no one wanted to take up, but Anthony Albanese took it up. And now he's the Prime Minister of Australia. You don't get a better ally than that. Please welcome the Prime Minister.
Well, thanks very much, Darcy, and I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and on behalf of the government that I'm proud to lead, I recommit that government to the implementation of the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full, including constitutional recognition of the great privilege that we have of sharing this continent with the oldest continuous culture on earth. In the referendum held in the second half of this year, Australians will have the opportunity to vote on two things: recognition and consultation. That is all this is about. Recognising that privilege that we have, showing respect to the traditional owners who have cared for this land for thousands of generations, and also the non-radical idea that people who are impacted by decisions of government, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, should be consulted on matters that affect them. That's simple. That's simple. And I'm very confident, just as when we got marriage equality done, people said, well, why didn't we do that earlier? And when we get this done, people will say, why didn't we do it earlier? So I thank Inner West Council for their leadership right across the political spectrum on this issue. And I encourage all of you to not just vote yes, but go out there and speak to your neighbours, speak to your friends, speak to people in your organisations, in your community and in others and campaign to make sure that we get this done, because this will be critical. It's about how a country progresses, and how a country progresses is with a continuum of human rights advances. And when I'm here at the opening of Pride Square, right here in Newtown, I think back to in 1998 when I introduced that legislation in the Parliament, and that was a radical measure. The idea that people should be able to allocate their superannuation to their partner, that there should be equal rights for money that is theirs. At that time, you had terrible human rights abuses, with people, of course, being confronted with legal documents and battles at a time where one partner might have been towards the end of their life. Extraordinary pressure being put on people. We got that done, and we got in the Rudd government, in some of our first legislation, 84 pieces of legislation changing the distinction that was there, giving equality between people regardless of their sexuality. And just as my government is committed to removing gender inequality, we're also committed to continuing to make gains and to remove the areas where there remains inequality on the basis of people's sexuality or people's identity, who they are. And that is just how progress happens. One of the reasons why I am a progressive is that that's how society moves forward. It gives me hope. Sometimes people will say, oh, you know, what about the good old days? Well, the good old days, we had no equality based upon people's sexuality. We had a white Australia policy. The Anti-Discrimination Act only came in with the Whitlam government and the advances that were made by previous governments. And I want to acknowledge today the struggle of, it's easy to be an ally. Tell you what's tough, those 78ers who marched and got arrested. Woo! You know, when we first put a Young Labor banner in the Mardi Gras, there were people saying, oh, we're not sure about that. The ALP hierarchy weren't all terribly enthusiastic about this idea. And I want to conclude with this thought. We speak a lot about tolerance, and tolerance is really important. But this is about a step that's way more important than tolerance. We need to celebrate our diversity, not just tolerate it. Because our diversity is what gives our society strength. It's what makes us a microcosm for the world when we see so much conflict based upon what people believe, people's faith, people's gender, with what's going on in Iran and Afghanistan at the moment. We can be a beacon for the world. One that says, regardless of who you believe in, who you love, what your gender is, what your ethnicity is, you will be given respect, and we will celebrate that diversity. So a huge shout out to everyone who has made this possible. A huge shout out to the 78ers and all those who struggled for human rights. And a big congratulations to the Inner West Council for showing leadership. I really look forward. The next month will be a fantastic celebration with Pride coming here to Australia in a celebration, the walk across the bridge. I'll be doing that. I'll also be the first Prime Minister not to watch the march on Mardi Gras, but to march. And I'll have someone called Penny Wong with me. Thanks very much.
Rip and tear, Albo, rip and tear. It's symbolic of the struggle. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We can't just unveil a pride beacon. We've got to have a bit of struggle with it too. Now again, this is going to look fabulous right now, but make sure you do check it out in the evening when it will light up the sky. Oh, we got a little bit of a peek. Get your phones out, get your cameras out. It is the Pride Square beacon.